After Hours.
On this episode of the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, we discuss the band from Mandeville, Louisiana, known As Cities Burn. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at IsSurvivedByPro for news and latest episode postings. And make sure to subscribe to the show. Leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on YouTube or whatever podcast service you're using. And if you'd like to see us do some live streams, leave us a comment or tweet us the keyword stream. Now, without further ado, let's start the show.
The devil is in Atlanta. Army surrounded.
Welcome back to the History of the Corps After Hours podcast, where each and every episode, I, Curtis, sit down with my good friend and avid listener to the History of the Corps podcast. Eric. How's it going, buddy?
Pretty good.
Good, man. Good. You enjoying that summer heat?
You could say that. That is a word you could
In a
be
way.
The word.
I noticed I noticed she had a long sleeve shirt on.
The air conditioner's good.
Good. Eric, two things before we get into the band that we're talking about today. You got a band for your spotlight. Before we get there, though,
Yes.
I wanted to bring a new phrase when describing screams to your attention. Because, we talked about before the subhuman cries. There's some other ones, but I can't remember off the top of my head. How about this
Horse
one?
barking.
Horse barking, yes. Here's a new one for you. Coffee grinder full of bones screams. We're going to add that to the repertoire?
We might have to.
Okay. Put it in the book. Alrighty, now let us dig right into the band that is in your spotlight today, Eric. Take it away.
So, this one's a local band from Tulsa, Oklahoma, called All's Fair. That's it. All's Fair. Not Love and War, not anything, just All's Fair.
It's just all's fair.
Short,
That's it.
just like
It's
their
All's Fair.
discography, which is 8 songs total on Mr. Spotify. 8.
Yeah.
That many.
Yeah. I listened to
I think they played all 8 when I heard them live.
Okay, so I listened to 5 of them. It was because I didn't really know where to start, so I just hit the populars and just let it go.
Right.
So I got the top 5 popular ones or whatever. And because when I first looked at it, I was like, all right, I usually like to pick an album. I'm not big on singles. And I went into there and I was like, single. Where's the albums at, man? So I get because I was thinking to myself, okay, when did these guys how long have these guys been around? They've been around since COVID, right?
Right.
They were basically
Yep,
born out
2020.
of the COVID era. Where was it? Not to steal your segment here, but I'd like to read their little headline off of their website, if you don't mind.
Does it say we're a rock album?
We're a rock out.
We're a rock
Yeah, it says All's Fair is a hard rock band from Tulsa, Oklahoma. The band was formed during COVID-19 lockdown when the members began recording music for fun. Okay, cool. This is kind of the interesting part. The band wrote and recorded an entire punk pop album that was never released. I don't know if this is like the lead singer, but it says Luke says, quote, "We were messing around with some ideas for the last song, and it ended up being a lot heavier and really a different genre than everything else that we had up to that point. But we loved it and decided to go more in that direction. All's Fair blend catchy vocal melodies and with heavy guitar and bass riffs, intricate keys, and explosive drums." I read that and I was like, I'm kind of interested to hear what that pop punk album sounded like.
Right? That would have been I'm here
Yeah.
for it.
So you've seen them live, right?
Right, right.
Okay, so have they mentioned anything about like releasing a full-length album or anything? Maybe an EP?
I didn't hear it at the time, but you know, being they are still relatively young. I mean, just 4 years
Right.
strong. I mean, that's
Yeah.
still a pretty young band in the overall mix of things.
Right.
So, I mean, they could still. Who knows?
It's just kind of strange to me to look at and go, okay, you released six of these singles in 2020. And I get, it's again, you have to think about COVID and you're probably limited to do some
Right,
stuff, especially starting out. Um, but you released six, songs right there. Obviously, you probably could just put all six of those on an EP. Um, I don't know, but then like even at that, we've got eight songs overall in 4 years. And I'm just kind of wondering like what I don't know. I couldn't really find anything on like their socials too that like gave any like indication of like what's your next step. Are you just kind of like
right,
I mean, I get to where it said on their website, hey, this is kind of born, in a time period of lockdown and just we were just kind of playing music for fun, just kind of doing something. Do you guys have jobs on the side or are you trying to do this for real? Yeah, what's the plan here? I mean, because if you just want to do it, as a side thing, that's cool. But I mean,
right.
again, I'm just kind of interested in like what like we've gotten all these singles, but are they what are we going towards here? You know. But anyway,
Who knows?
yeah. Who did you see him with?
I think they opened up for. Oh, that one was Memphis Mayfire.
Okay.
Relatively
Okay.
disappointing on Memphis's part, I will say.
Was this recent? Because you've seen Memphis a
This would
couple of
have
times, right?
been, yeah, this was the most recent time I seen Memphis. Back when I seen him in
Okay.
like 2016, that was a good show. I mean, that
Okay.
was with Silverstein, that was with Devil Wears Prada.
Oh, that's right.
That show.
Yeah.
We talked about
Yeah.
that, but
The Dallas
I
show.
mean,
Yeah.
overall though, that was a good show. With broad brushstrokes here.
Okay.
Now, this show, they did good at pumping me up. They got me ready to hear it, and then MacBook Pro Air came out, and
Nice.
Maddie with the MacBook Pro here, and that was about it. The whole band left the stage, I think, twice,
Oh,
and then
yes.
came
Yeah.
back.
Turn into the
And I'm
Maddie
like,
show.
what are we doing here? I
Yeah.
didn't sign up to see that. I signed up to see Memphis, which I was hoping they would play older stuff, which they played a couple, but with a new spin, with that new electronic sound
I
that,
hate when that.
eh,
No, I hate when people do that. I hate it.
me
I
too.
hate it. Yeah. When you try to bring
But
something old into the new age, like, nope, nope,
yeah, no.
leave it be, man. Okay. So, what was their performance like? Not Memphis or Maddie. I'm talking all's fair here. What was their performance like?
It was pretty good. It was solid. They had a good crowd interact feeling. They weren't the most high energy band I've ever seen,
Mhm.
but you know, they didn't jump down in the crowd and mosh with us. Let me put it that way.
Yeah. Okay.
But they were a six piece, which I thought was pretty
Oh,
interesting.
okay. What was the
So two
lineup? Like
guitars,
three
a
guitars?
bass,
Okay.
two guitars, a bass, drums. They do have keys, and then the vocalist.
Okay. Okay. But they don't have keys
So
anymore? Or
I
what?
think
Because
they
they're
still
down to
do.
okay, but you're saying they're
Do
down
they?
to five though?
No, they are a five, or I mean a six piece. My bad.
Oh, they are a six piece. Oh, okay. I got what you're saying. For some
This
reason,
many.
for some reason, I thought you said they're five piece. Well, they used to be a six piece. I thought that's what you said. My bad.
Oh, I might have.
Um,
As far as I know,
uh,
they are and were a six piece.
Gotcha. I think I got one more question for you. If you had to compare them, like their sound, like what's their comp? Like, uh, what do they kind of sound like band wise?
Band wise,
Yeah.
I'd throw them in a similar mixer like with Salt Creek and like that kind of thing, kind of on the heavier end of alt rock.
Okay.
I mean, I was feeling some clear influences from different bands. One that popped into my mind at one point I don't know if it was a vocal structure or something like that, but it was Papa Roach back from like,
Okay.
decades ago.
Yeah. I
So
could see that.
kind of
I,
that.
yeah, the one band that kind of came to mind, and I don't want to say it's like very similar, it was just kind of little hints here and there, was like Breaking Benjamin at times. I was kind of like,
Yeah.
I
Kind of
think
that
one of the
heavier end of that
things,
alt. Yeah.
yeah, one of the things that like I felt listening to this band was like I could easily see them playing on the local radio station, like the local alt rock radio
Right.
station. Um, they just kind of had that sound. I was like, yeah, it feels like kind of, I don't want to say commercial, but I mean you put it good. It's the heavier end of alt rock, basically.
Right.
So okay. Okay. Nice. You got anything else for them or sums
I
it up?
did put a note down here that said, as being a young band like they do have a very crisp, clean sound. It
Mhm.
feels really solid. It's not like I don't know where they're recording. It could be in their garage. I don't know, but it doesn't sound like it.
Right.
It's not that raw. And it doesn't feel overproduced either. I know
Right.
sometimes you get into a garage band and you're going, "Hey, yeah, let's clickety clack here on the computer until it turns into something else." But
Right.
it doesn't sound like that either. It's actually a pretty defined sound, and it feels like they know where they're going. Now let's just see if they give us a whole album of it or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they have it in them to write a whole album. They obviously wrote one, but just never saw the light of day. Which again, I'd be interested to hear what they sounded like punk pop or pop punk. I mean, I know, it's I don't think it's going to be anything. It was like, oh, blow my mind. This is revolutionary
Wow.
because I mean, pop punk is pop punk. How far can you really, divert from what it is?
Yep. I don't know how
But
far we can
still, I
stretch
would
that
have.
one.
Yeah, exactly. I still would have been interested to hear that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do here in the future, next year or two, maybe at the
Yeah.
end of this year. Who knows? But
They're not all that bad.
uh
I'd say give them a shot,
have you followed
especially
like
for a young band.
have they gone on like any tours, or are they more just like sticking local?
From what I was looking at their Facebook and things like that, it seems like they're doing a lot of little local opening types.
Okay.
I
Maybe
seen
just
they've
kind of
done a
hit and
couple at
miss here.
Vanguard, a couple over here at the the Canes Ballroom. It looked like they did at least one or two there. Little things
Okay.
like that.
Okay. Cool. Paying
And
their
if that's their
dues.
niche, if that's what they
So
want to
be it.
do is,
Yeah.
be the opener, the local opener, that's fine. But I want to know. I do want to know. I'm with you on that
Right.
one.
Yeah, I kind of
Give
like
us a
know
little
what's
bit.
the
Let us
deal.
know.
Yeah. Yeah, I have no problem with that at all, man. I mean, especially if you got a
Oh
good
yeah.
job and you're comfortable where you're at, and this is just kind of like a hobby thing to do on the side, and
Your
you
outlet,
have that
something
avenue.
you
It's
want to
like,
do on the
cool,
side.
cool, man. That's
Absolutely.
awesome, man. So cool. Awesome.
Yep.
All's fair there on Spotify. All 8 of their singles.
All 8 of
Yeah,
them.
all 8 of them. Alrighty, Eric. Let's dive on into this band that we're talking about today. A little band known as Cities Burn. Yeah. So as
All 4
always,
albums, right?
Eric. Yeah, exactly. Uh as always, like start off an episode asking you 2 simple questions, Eric. How were you introduced to the band known as Cities Burn?
This is another one I feel like in the past I've always known the name. I've heard about them. People talk about them, passing people in the hallways. You hear it, you see it on a t-shirt somewhere, but I just never sat down and tried them.
Okay. Okay. Now you've tried them. You've listened to all
I
4 of
have.
their albums.
I have.
Uh, how would you describe the roller coaster known as Cities Burn to a new listener?
So as this is as a whole, so this is including everything, trying to kind of
Yes.
mix it all
Yeah.
together, put it in the cement mixer and let's see what makes. It's like a mix. I used bands this time rather than anything else because it's a little harder to nail their style down because they are such a roller coaster. But
Yeah.
like it's like a mix between early He Is Legend mixed with a little bit of Fall of Troy with splashes of Seosin and Alexis on Fire.
Okay. Okay.
And it depends on the song and the album and everywhere else which part of the
Run
mix is a little stronger
run
than
through
the
that.
other.
Yeah, run through that list one more time.
So early, he is legend.
Okay.
The kind of the rawness of Fall of
Yeah.
Troy is really what I was getting at there.
Okay.
Maybe a little bit of their energy too, but
Yeah.
Seosin and then Alexis on Fire. Those are the splashes that
Okay.
I feel
Okay.
every once in a while. It's like, oh, that sounded kind of Seosin-y. Oh,
Gotcha.
but anyway,
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not sure. It's a weird mix for me. I'm not sure it really works all the time for me either, as a whole.
Yeah. Well,
As we're
and
getting
we're
into it,
right. We're going to talk about it, as we
yeah.
get deeper into this episode, but it's just one of those where with the way everything kind of lines up, the, member changes or people leaving or whatever, not being replaced, it lends to the whole deal of not having consistency in your sound. There may be little splashes here and there, but it's like you're really kind of changing what you're doing and it's not consistent, so you can't really get off the ground and stay off the ground. You know, me and Josh were doing an episode the other day about a band that's kind of similar, a little worse, and it's just like, man, what are we doing here, man? This band, um, they had an EP, and then the next year they had their first full length album, and those two were kind of similar. But it's like 2 years after their debut album, they come out with their sophomore album, and it is totally different from the first two. And it's kind of like what are we doing? That's not even a gradual change, and it's way too early in the game, I feel like, to be doing that. And then you dip after that, and then you try to come back in 2018 and with a totally different sound again. It's just madness. But anyway, I digress. We'll get to that band sooner or later. Um, yeah, one thing I will say too about this band is their beliefs. It's in the beginning, it's somewhat on the nose. You can tell what they're talking about, what they're believing. There's a little more subtlety later on in their discography. Um, and I'd say, and I think some of the reviewers said it too, it's like they ask the hard questions, especially later on when Cody takes over more of the lyrics and vocals. But speaking of lyrics and vocals, talk to me, Eric, about the style that you hear in their two vocalists, the brothers TJ Bonnet, who does uncleans, and Cody Bonnet, who does clean vocals.
So uncleans.
By the
This
way,
the
real quick, keep talking. I'm listening. Keep talking, but I'm going to try to grab something real quick. But go ahead.
Okay. So the uncleans, they're rough. This is kind of where I feel that early he is legend kind of vibe. And when they actually does like the screams, that's where I get that kind of more Alexis on Fire style, kind of like middle of their discography. So not like early stuff, not like late stuff from them. The cleans, um, the closest thing when he actually sings, not the whisper or the raspy thing that he does here and there, it catches a little bit of that Seosin sound here and there for me. And I kind of enjoy it. I'm not upset. But anyway, so that's where the breakdown of all those different bands and where they kind of land for me. They are definitely a hodgepodge and a mix. Did I miss any of them? Oh, that, like I said, the Fall of Troy mix that goes in there is more musical, more of the energy, I think, the rawness, especially early on. So that is kind of how I'm feeling on those vocals.
Yeah,
good timing.
I used to have a couple of, well, I think I used to have one shirt. I don't have that shirt anymore, but I also had a koozie, little can koozie for a while, and I still have it somewhere, but I can't find it. Anyway, good job. I listened to everything you just said. No, I'm just kidding. I did. Yeah,
Sort of, kind of.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying, and it's interesting. It's interesting because, yeah, I always thought too with like Cody doing the cleans, how like he doesn't get as technical as Thomas from Fall of Troy playing the riffs, especially not as fast, but it's always interesting to
Right.
me because I get that comparison with Fall of Troy because he's able to do the singing while still playing some technical stuff on guitar and still being that lead guitarist. So that was always one thing that kind of impressed me.
It gets points in my book right there.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. Now, overall, we already kind of mentioned it, but overall, this is a band that can really be described as never fully getting off the ground and staying off the ground. There was a lot of promise shown after their debut album, Son, I Loved You at Your Darkness, which was released. Oh, no, when it was released, there was a lot of hype to it, but that hype would be cut off at the ankles pretty quick when their unclean vocalist chose to focus on his new family. Family, come on, bro. You got a family right here. It's called your band. But yeah, before we get too deep here, Eric, just give me your thoughts on their well-known, acclaimed debut album, "Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest."
It's
Darkness,
a decent
everybody.
album. Darkness, I tell you. It is young. It is raw. It's not the rawest thing we've listened to on this podcast for sure, but it's on the rawer side.
Right.
At times, it's a little high pitched in the vocals for my tastes. Um, but for a first album, it definitely could have been remembered like something like the Search Party EP from Vanna. As far as
Oh,
like, this could have been like the stepping stone. This could have been something great. We're going places.
right.
But with band member changes and things like that, they kind of fell off that cliff after this one,
Yeah,
rather
man,
than
it would have
taking it as
been,
that stare.
yeah, would have been interesting to see at least a sophomore album with TJ still on Uncleans. See if
I
they still
agree.
kind
That
of
would have been
continue
something.
that progression. Because there was a lot of there was a big following when this album came out. I mean, I can remember I wasn't listening to them when it came out or anything, but I can remember looking back several years after this album came out and I really was starting to get into them, just how many people were just so in love with this album right here. So yeah, it would have been really interesting to see um, what a sophomore album with the band still intact would have looked like. Let's talk about the album artwork real quick because me and Josh are kind of discussing it on the original podcast. It's right here behind me if you need a little reference. Um,
Mhm.
we were trying to figure out, what's going on really. Is there some ties to the actual album title, the lyrics, maybe in the songs or whatever? But I want to ask you, what do you see in the artwork, and do you see any connection with the album title or music?
It's definitely got a little church building there in the middle. It's
Right.
got a little bell and steeple if you look real close. I think it's right above where your cutoff is.
Mhm.
But it's got roots growing underneath the building itself, which I think is kind of cool with their lyrics and things being a little on the nose at this point. It's actually more subtle and more in depth when you think about it than their lyrics are, because hey,
Right.
if you're rooted in the church, you're rooted, like really rooted, is kind of what I feel like that's trying to say there. I just think that's kind of
Okay.
neat, interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get a third opinion on that because we were kind of talking about it. I never
It's
really
pretty neat.
thought too
Yeah.
much about it. I think Josh said he thought he saw some stuff like up above, like in the sky, but I honestly haven't even gone back and looked at that yet. But I never really thought too much about the album artwork because I was like you, I was like, I see a building, I assume that's a church, and then I see some roofs, and I was like, okay. I mean, I don't really
Right.
think twice about it, but all right, I got a trivia question here for you, Eric, the one and only one on this episode. Are you
Oh
ready?
boy. Let's get it.
Okay, let's talking about Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest. Who helped producer Matt Goldman produce As Cities Burn's debut album, Son, I Loved You at Your Darkness? And here's a hint for you, Eric. This guy, we have covered two of his bands on the History of the Cores podcast so far. So far. The third band, maybe.
Hmm. Who helped produce? Hmm.
Hmm.
Names are hard. Oh, it's one of those old days, ain't it?
Yeah.
What is that guy's? Matt Goldman and
Hoobity-doo.
yeah. Um,
Hoobity-boobity-bop.
he's in that their band that I don't particularly like. Yeah, I think. I don't know. If I'm
Okay.
thinking of the right
Okay.
one.
Okay.
That might have been a later producer.
Hmm. Hmm. Think
Hmm.
bands that we've covered. Remember, that's your
Bands that
hint.
we've covered.
All right, I'm gonna need a
Well,
guess at least.
without cheating, I don't think I got this one.
Okay. You want to throw out at least a name?
Uh, what's the lead singer? TJ Maxx. Yeah, we'll go with him.
DJ Max. I love it. I love it. Not even close. It is one Josh Scoggin from the Chariot and Norma Jean.
Definitely not the
Yeah.
one I was thinking of.
Yeah. Who were you thinking of? Like what band? I mean, I know you couldn't come up with a name, but
What was the? I think it was one of the later ones. Trying to look it up real quick.
oh, okay. Divorce Prada?
If it would even. Well, yeah, that too, but no.
Hmm.
Matt
A
Goldman
later
there.
one.
Maybe it was a different one. I was listening to y'all's getting caught up on the podcast, you know.
Okay.
But
Well, I'm trying to go back and think. I mean, it may not even be one that we've covered yet, but just trying to go back and think of like ones that you've said you haven't really enjoyed or don't like at all.
mm, oh, let me one more quick look here.
Okay.
Different way
Yeah.
here.
No, you're good. Yeah, because I'm interested to know. I gotta know. The people
Yeah.
need to know.
Um, wasn't it like the guy from A Day to Remember did something?
Oh yeah. Ghost Inside. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
that's okay. I did mix two of them up. That's what it was.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Not a big
rough.
fan of a Day to
A
Remember.
day to remember.
That's
That
that's
episode
when
will
I know
come around sooner or later.
I'm sure, and I'll hate every minute of it.
Oh boy. All right. Back to As Cities Burn here. This band was going to quit after just one album, Eric. They made it known that they didn't want to continue without their lead vocalist, TJ, on unclean vocals. But due to fan support, they decided, okay, you got us. We'll make more music. The problem, though, with that, Eric, is I feel like that outpour was more for the music that the band was already known for, which included unclean vocals. And,
I agree. Yeah.
instead, we really didn't get unclean vocals. We got a couple of hollers and yells here and there from Cody, but this turned more into a indie rock band, which I still enjoy the albums that come here and there. I don't enjoy them as much as I used to, but I'm I would understand like the disappointment that ends up coming for some of the fans that were hoping that they would get like another vocalist, or maybe get Cody to step up doing some more unclean vocals or whatever. But the music that's going to follow is going to come out on Come Now Sleep. And like I said, this split the fan base, as it showcased more of an indie style rock with a hard focus on clean vocals with a few, like I said, emotional hollers or yells from Cody. So give me your thoughts, Eric, on the change in sound found on their sophomore album.
They might have should have stopped after that first album, but anyway, um, if you kind of just take it as its own thing, it's really not a bad sound when they actually play music. But we get a lot of the weird sound bites and little snips and things like that.
Yeah.
Um, this album slips more into that old school emo kind of
Mhm.
feel. kind of, I guess, on the softer end of it. You're
Okay.
not playing with the post-hardcore anymore. You're playing more with
Right.
the emo core, more in
Right.
that general vicinity of things. It's not awful, but it's definitely not where we were.
Right.
It's a left
Exactly.
turn, and
I
it's
I yeah.
yeah,
I
it's different, and it's almost different enough. We've talked about it in different episodes. Y'all have talked about it. Hang up that one. Go on to the next one. Let's try a different band name or whatever. You've
mhm,
made your name.
mhm.
Use your name as, hey, this is my new band. Come check us out. You know,
Exactly. Yep.
I don't understand why we got to stick with this name and let's drag this band through the mud.
Mhm.
You released a
Mhm.
pretty decent first album. It's got your cult following. Leave it alone.
Exactly.
But
Don't tarnish
anyway,
the record. Don't take the chance of tarnishing the record, you know? Yeah, that's what I
right.
was going to say. It's like this is one of those critical points of you have a choice. You're at a fork in the road. You either take the chance of tarnishing your name, losing a bunch of fans, or you have the chance to stay on that social media page, say, "Hey, we'll do more music, but yeah, we're not going to do it under this name. We're going to go start something new. Come on over there, check us out. Please, check us out." And me and Josh have had that discussion before of like some of these bands don't feels like they don't want to lose that foundational fan base that they built already. I get that. But you're going to burn your fan base and you're going to burn yourself, I feel like, in my opinion, by staying with the same name under the same umbrella. Start over, bro. Just start over. Especially with that, it's like you're still so early too. It's like just start
Right.
over, dude. But
Especially when you look into the types of communities that listen to this music.
yes.
And most music has that community wrapped around it.
Hmm.
Those guys are loyal.
Right.
If you say, hey, I was a part of XYZ band and now I'm going for ABC band over here, that fan base will listen to that too.
Right.
They'll listen to your first album and that album over there with your new band.
Hmm.
I promise you, it
I
will
agree.
work 99% of the time.
I agree.
Oh, anyway, there's a couple bands out there right now that actually have done that. Like, what's that? Rain City Drive
Oh
has
God.
kind of done that. I mean, whatever you
Uh,
think about them, they have
yeah.
created a big fan base
Right.
that kind of slid over from other fan bases.
Right.
So, I mean, whatever you want to say about them, think about them. They have done this. It's
Right.
doable. See, look, people, look. Anyway,
Exactly. It has been done before. It can work. Well, just when you thought the roller coaster ride wasn't crazy enough, Eric, hang on.
here we
Their
go.
third album, Hell or High Water, would be recorded by only one member, Cody Bonnet. Now, we just talked about side projects. They're starting a new band or whatever. At this point, this feels like a side project. How do you feel about the choice to record without any of the other members? I mean, there are still members that are in this band this time. It's not a deal. It's like, oh well, no, they're all still together. It's just for some reason, I don't know if life's gotten in the way for everybody else or what, but he just decided, well, I'm still gonna go record this by myself. What? And so you got that. It's like, how do you feel about that choice? And then overall, how do you feel about the album, Hell or High Water?
It's weird. I don't know why you do that for I can't even understand.
Strange. Yeah, that's a head scratcher.
That's the only word. It is beyond strange.
Yeah. Huh?
Sound wise, it definitely edges closer to pop. They've lost the punk in the pop. I do think it is dumb to record without the rest of the band.
Yeah.
Unless this is your side project now and you've lost the rest of the band, which oddly enough, you still had the band. I don't even know. I don't even know.
Right.
But it reminds me about weird stories about like Zayo from like the self-titled era, I think it was.
Right.
But at least they brought guys in to, record like Dan. They didn't just bring in some dude off the street. Hey, can you holler? Okay, try to sound like this guy here.
Right.
I mean, at least, or they didn't have Jesse on drums. So, I can kind of sort of scream. Let me try to do that just like Dan used to do that. Yeah, let's do that.
Mhm.
No, he actually brought somebody. He's smart enough to do that. I can't understand why
Exactly.
he was just like, I can play synthy things. I can play like a drum or a drum machine or whatever that was. Uh, cool. Yeah, let's just do it. But
Right.
I don't know. It's a very odd choice. And I guess this is all his brainchild. It's probably why it edges closer to that pop rather than, post hardcore punk or anything else
Right.
that they might have
Yeah.
been in the past.
Right. Okay. So yeah, like I said, these last two albums, I enjoy. Well, Come Now Sleep, I enjoyed overall. Hell or High Water, it's kind of hit or miss for me. And like I said, I don't like this band as much as I used to, just because it's like I know the history and then now what's going on. We'll get to that here in just a moment. And I just like I shake my head and I think, what are we doing here, man? And it just kind of affects my overall feeling of the band. But yeah. Um, right after they release Hell or High Water, they break up. They don't even get to do a tour to support it or anything. I don't even know if the rest of the members would want to do a tour with Cody after that betrayal. If you want to call it betrayal, I don't know. They may have known that he was doing that. Who knows? But after several years of this kind of period of will they, won't they, or they'd come back, they'd get together, like, we're doing some shows, and then they would, would release a few singles here and there. They would reunite with TJ again, and add a few more pieces and release their or it would just kind of like keep teasing of like we're gonna do it, and then they'd break up again, and then like they'd be like, oh no, we're back. It's kind of like what are we doing here, man? What are we doing? I mean, they put on their social media page, resurrected, and then I remember like we got a couple of singles, and then they were like, no, we're definitely done this time. It's over. And then next thing you know, they're popping up and we're getting a comeback album from 2019, Scream Through the Walls. Now, I personally, when it came out, it was kind of a strange time for me personally with work and everything like that. And then we were just about to hit COVID. But I remember when it came out, I was kind of hyped and I listened to it a lot and I enjoyed it. Again, kind of like the other ones. I enjoyed it a lot when it came out, but yeah, it's kind of lost its luster now for me personally. Um, so you have that album, you go through COVID, you follow that up with, a lot of kind of on and off touring here and there until finally 2 years ago, 2022, we saw the final show of the band at Furnace Fest, which again, here we go. It only featured Cody from the band. Everybody else is just kind of like makeshift pieces. What are we doing here? And then you follow that up with it's like going into that show, they knew it was going to be their last one. It's like, oh, we're done. This is it. But then you get to the show and they're playing, and then he announces, oh, we got a new project. It's called My Only Passenger. Like, okay, so I go check that band out. I go see what's going on. They got one song up on their Bandcamp page. Whatever. I listened to it. Nothing to write home about personally. The thing though that got me was their description on Bandcamp was, quote, trying to stay alive. And I'm sitting there and I'm reading that and I think to myself, you take that into consideration with everything that's happened up to this point. And that's where I just start shaking my head and they really start losing me. And I'm just like, if you got to put that up on your description, you probably just need to stop trying, And even at that, we're like a year, almost 2 years away from that happening, and we've still only gotten that one single. What are we doing? You know? So I say all that to
Not staying
say,
alive.
yeah, exactly. So I say all that to say, how do you feel about their final album, 2019, Scream Through the Walls, their comeback album? And, you know, given some of the members' track records throughout this band of will they, won't they, is there really any hope for this new project, in your opinion, or is it DOA, Dead on Arrival?
So this, as a whole, has me a little confused how to feel about the album. On one
Amen,
hand,
brother.
we've got way too much electronic stuff going on. Like, calm down, play guitar, please. Just that's all we really wanted.
Who's getting Mac Pro,
But
MacBook Pro credit?
well, I didn't see it on the lineup. But anyway, um, but on the other hand, vocally, this is their most solid album in my opinion. Like, it's the most grown up
Yeah.
overall, the best feeling between the singers. Just it melded well together.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, but the overall style kind of loses me too. I do feel like we get like a gem or two here and there, but that's about it for me. This one's not going to get a full playthrough very often, if ever, for
Yeah.
me.
Let me say this too. I don't even think I mentioned this on the original episode. One of the things that one of the problems I have with this album, and maybe some songs from the other ones too, not so much their first one. Their first one's good, but maybe like a few songs here and there from their previous two albums, but more specifically this album. I feel like listening to some of these songs, I'm like, man, I just don't think this song, like most of the songs on this album, would translate good to live. You know, I don't know if you
Yeah.
felt that too or not, but and I've watched a couple of live like songs here and there from their discography, and I'm just like, I feel like they wrote a lot of stuff that's just more fit for the studio and the album rather than being able to translate that to. I watched. Do you watch any Audio Tree Live stuff?
No, not in years. No.
Yeah. They had one when this album came out, they went on there and did it. And I think they only had like three or four guys perform. Again, what are we doing? But it was really weird. They did, oh my gosh. They played some songs that were like, I remember seeing the lineup and I thought, oh man, that's gonna be rough trying to play that, especially live in a studio. And they did it, but it's like a couple of them that I think they did like reimagining of them. And I was just like, oh no, this is like worse than I thought it was going to happen. It's just, I don't know. That's what I
Mm.
always kind of felt about this band. I was like, just most of their stuff just does not translate live. But yeah, I can't believe I forgot to say that on the original episode though. But yeah, any hope at all though for this new project, in your opinion?
If he keeps up what he's been doing now, it just,
Yeah,
especially now we've got what, 5 years behind us. Probably not.
yeah,
It's
yeah, I
not looking
agree.
good.
Yeah. Well, alrighty, we've come to the end of the episode here, Eric. Favorites, if you got any. Let me hear it. Any albums, songs, lyrics, riffs, artworks, so on and so forth. Take it away.
So, album, I just went with the best, the one I liked the best, from front to back. This is not like I'm skipping songs. Like, it's not
Right.
awful. It's not terrible. Son, I Loved You at Your Darkest. Like I said, it's young, it's raw. It's not 100% for me all the time, but I could see playing this maybe once in a while.
Yeah.
Um, maybe not, but maybe. I'm not saying no. Let me put it that way. That's a start.
You're saying there's a chance.
There is a chance. Um, let's see. For lyrics, I've got "Let the dead bury their own dead. Let the
Ah, there you
dead bury
go.
their own dead." From Wake, Dead Man Wake, and
As
that
that
delivery is
hi-hat
pretty
rolls.
good too. Oh yeah, yeah. See,
So
there's
good.
a whole band there doing a thing, and
Yes.
it's really
Yes.
good.
It's a collective. We're coming together. Yes. I agree.
So, getting down into the favorite songs. You ready for number 3?
I'm ready. Number 3.
Got Bloodsucker Part 2.
Oh God. So good, bro. So good. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's a classic, man. But I still wonder whatever happened to part one.
It was that punk album that didn't make it. Oh wait, that was another
You
band.
know, I don't like it when band that's my only complaint about the song. I don't like it when bands do that to me because I'm like, where's part one? Where's it at? Where is it? I must find it.
Scour the internet. It's out there, I'm sure.
Yes. It's out there, the black market.
So,
Ah.
yes. Number 2.
Number 2.
I went with Broadway, actually.
Oh, okay. Interesting
Off
choice.
Scream.
Okay, yeah.
I
Interesting
enjoy
choice.
it. It's a gem on the album for sure. I like it.
I think
And
that's
then,
one of my prime examples of I just don't see this song it's a good song, but I just don't see this song translating
Right.
live. Yeah. Anyway. Number 1.
Number 1. Surprise, surprise. Wake, Dead Man, Wake.
Nice.
I know.
Nice.
Shocked you right out of your
No,
shoes.
that's good, man. That's a good one. It's a good one from their debut album. All right. You got any
I can definitely see where. Oh,
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I could definitely see where you were talking about the lyrics being a little dead on.
Yes.
Right on the nose.
Yes. They definitely
Yeah,
find some more discretion or discreet ways to put it later on in their discography when they want to talk about it. But yeah, it's very
Right.
very upfront. Here's what we are, here's what we're talking about, here's what we believe on their first album. I mean, you can just read the title. It's like, okay, yeah, I know where this is going. So,
Right.
alrighty, Eric. Final thoughts on the band known as Cities Burn.
Not awful if you stick with, say, the first album when they were a band. But as a whole, with the roller coaster ride and everything, if you don't know who they are at this point, stick with the first album. You may like it, you may not. But that's my recommendation for you.
I agree, man. Check out the Cult Following album. Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
It really has one. And it's worth a check out if nothing else. What's
I
all the
agree.
hype about, Remember
Exactly.
it was, 2002? Something like that? If you put that in
05.
context with it. Was it that late?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 05. Yeah.
Anyway.
Which to me, it's
Still
like
mid-
that's peak for kind of that grouping of like what their
Right,
genre
this
is,
sound.
their
Yes.
sound, and even like their beliefs, and kind of that like that Christian post-hardcore, hardcore, whatever you want to call it. But
Got your under oaths and your
exactly. Yeah. I feel like that's right smack dab in the prime there. All righty, let's get on out of here. Make sure to follow us on Twitter @IsSurviveByPro for news and the latest episode postings, not just on this show, people. We got other shows too as well. We got variety. We have the History of the Cores podcast, the pop-up of this very podcast right here, where I sit down with Josh and we talk about the discography and the history of bands from the core genre. We also have the Red Right Hand podcast, which has covered all 6 seasons and will be a movie. There will be a movie, people, of the BBC/Netflix hit show, The Peaky Blinders. And we also have the Throne of the Dragon podcast, which has covered season 1, currently season 2 of HBO's House of the Dragon. We're having a fun time. And Josh is still currently on his vacation on Sandals Dragonstone. You may not get that, Eric, but if you know, you know. Also catch us in the off season. I mean, once season 2 is over, we're not done. We're not closing the door. We're going to have an off season. We're going to be talking about some more Fire and Blood and start getting into some other George R.R. Martin books. And we'll have another show from HBO coming up here pretty soon as well. Also, while you're on Twitter, make sure to follow my co-host @Joshua Lynn Gary. Make sure to leave us a 5-star review and write us a comment on whatever podcast service you're using. And if you want to listen to us and see Eric's smiling face, head on over to our YouTube page. Just search Is Survived by Productions, and they'll have every episode from all of our shows. Subscribe to the channel, double thumbs the video up. Yeah. Alrighty.
But only one counts.
But only one counts. If you hit it twice, actually, I think it takes away the thumb. So only hit it once, please.
Oh, hit it 3 times.
Hit it 3 times. Boom! In your face. Alrighty, until the next episode where we're talking about the band known as The Ghost. Oh no, I had my deal. Okay, never mind. The Ghost Inside. We'll see you.